Just saw Deadpool, and this is actually going to be our second attempt to record a video because we just had a technological malfunction and lost 6 minutes of our review.
Yay, technology, 21st century problems.
Mother humper.
Yes, and that's very fitting for watching Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems like, hey, let's have some shenanigans.
I hate it because we had a nice, really good, natural, everything was perfect. And I even got to bring up the fact that it's better than Highlander the Source, which I have no freaking idea why that's even in our house. Anyways.
So,
well, we'll see. We're trying to reconstruct the review.
So this is going to be our spoiler-free version of our first impressions of Deadpool.
Second impressions now.
Nope.
Okay. I love the movie. So what was interesting for me was that it kind of felt like it was very similar to Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Because the Pirates of the Caribbean 2 got really serious, and they didn't really have as much humor. And this one was kind of like, it had like half the jokes. It was more serious, including Cable, I guess we'll do that. I felt like the movie was as good as the original, not better, but it also, I didn't feel disappointed.
No, so the first one was definitely like setting up Deadpool, going into his humor, getting into like what was going on with his story. And this one, actually thinking about it now that we're doing a double take, this kind of reminds me of Beavis and Butthead Does America.
Really?
So, and this is the logic within it.
How strangely fitting.
Okay, so this is the logic within that movie for people that might not be familiar. So, yes, I do agree with you on that part of Pirates of the Caribbean 2, but this is what I see about this movie. So, Beavis and Butthead are in somebody else's movie. This feels like Deadpool is in somebody else's movie.
Right.
So the seriousness, the planning, the almost Ocean's 11 kind of feel, the time traveling cop from before,
and it goes sideways so
and
bad.
the sideways and all the other stuff that goes on. It's like somebody else's film. It's basically a mixture between, like I said, Ocean's 11, the Time Cop, an X-Men film.
And there was actually a point. I mean, I mentioned this on the way home. This is new for this review, so you guys get this for the first time. But there was a point in the movie where the cinematography feels like you're watching an Evil Dead movie.
Yeah. I remember you kind of mentioning part of that.
Because it suddenly got all weirdly jerky for no reason, and it's like looks just like Evil Dead. So a point with it, like not being like kind of being just as good as the original one, which how can you? I mean, like that's great. They didn't screw the pooch, but it was kind of like
they made sure that it wasn't taken to the clinic, and
right,
it was
they didn't castrate the movie. So Age of Ultron, right? You got Avengers and you got Age of Ultron, and Avengers straight up best superhero movie ever made until Infinity War, right? Age of Ultron was just as good as the first one, and it almost comes off as a little bit of a disappointment because you knew it needed to be better, and somehow it wasn't better. It was just as good, and that kind of made a bit of a disappointment. And in this case, I kind of felt a little bit that way about Deadpool 2, but at the same time, like what they brought to the table was so amazing because like Cable, best Cable you could have ever hoped for, like
right,
and Domino stole the show. And Shatterstar, what can you say about Shatterstar?
But it definitely did feel like they did a good job on Cable of making sure that he was very much a straight man. He was very serious about what was going on.
He's the Cable you always wanted.
Yeah, it was it was very much to what's within the lore, within the mythos of part of that whole story.
Well,
but it really works of having, especially those two characters, like bounce off of each other. That kind of almost Will Ferrell kind of like completely slapstick weirdness.
No, not Will Ferrell.
When he does. There's times where it's like when he does really good, like the other guys. Where it's like when you got somebody that's like super serious and you got him being silly.
So, yeah.
Derailed.
Yeah, well, you definitely derailed what I was going to say. So, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah,
So the train wreck
you threw,
happened, and the plane
you
crashed into the
totally,
megalodon.
yeah, you totally threw me. So Domino, right?
Yes.
Like, I love how Zazie Beetz portrayed the character. Um, like you, I had this video I just recorded today, and there's a point I forgot to mention that I kind of want to talk about a little bit about how comic book, like when you take like a successful film or a movie or something and you adapt it into a comic book, like Marvel did an adaptation of Terminator 2 that was just disgusting. DC did an adaptation of Star Trek 5 that was literally one issue, like horrible. And then you look at like Farscape, right? Greatest science fiction series ever made. I dare you to. You are wrong because you're disagreeing with me right now. But like the comic books were not as good because there is the character and the charisma of the actors, right? And that brings something to it that you don't get when you read these books, because they're often not written by the original character creators either. But then like here we have the character Domino in the comic books. Never really interested me. Like I remember her from her first appearance, because like back when her and Cable and Deadpool all came out around the same time, they were just basically all cookie cutter assholes. But Zazie Beetz brought this amazing charisma to the character. And really brought her to life in a way that we never got in the comics, and this became the definitive Domino for me.
Yeah, I definitely have to say it's like I enjoyed her as an actor. Mm-hmm. She definitely like she owned that role.
Oh yeah, no, she totally. Oh, and then I remember the point I forgot. So like when the talk was made about casting Cable, right? Mm-hmm. Names like Dolph Lundgren being thrown around, which I think he would have been cool. But like the guy who played, I don't know the name of the actor, but the guy who played the villain in the general, in Avatar, not the good Avatar, the bad Avatar, and he
dances with Smurfs,
right? And he was also the villain in that horrible Conan movie that should have ruined Jason Momoa's career but didn't, and he was the evil warlord. And you're not missing anything.
No.
Yeah, but anyhow, and so though he was good in that time travel show, but anyways, like I did not like him as the villain. Like he was just a jerk with no depth in Avatar. Anyways, there was talk that he was the front runner to play Cable, and I'm so glad we got Josh Brolin. Like I cannot imagine anyone doing a better job than Josh Brolin. Like basically having Thanos, which you didn't realize was
right initially. Person. I didn't.
Yeah, it was like that's why it was funny when he called him Thanos in the movie.
Yes.
Something else we were talking about, again, a brand new point for these viewers that we did not discuss in the other review, but how the trailers the trailers had all these different cuts in the movie, and there's all these jokes in the trailers that were not in the film, and it was odd to see them not be there, because in some of those I thought were funnier, but they also, I thought it was an interesting point that we did get different versions, because why should all the funniest parts be in the trailer? And I think it's unfortunate, because like I think they might have cut the movie that way specifically because some of the, like, they lost a few funny jokes to the trailer, and I think they picked some other version just because they wanted to have a different movie. Kind of like where he says "Pump the hate brakes, Thanos." That joke never actually made it into the movie, which is really unfortunate. There were a couple other. It's really weird too, because they actually had a trailer, and they had another version of the joke from when they were all riding together in the taxi, and then they put out another version of the trailer a couple weeks later with a different version of the joke. And I thought, and then we had a third version that actually landed in the movie, and it's like I thought the original one was so much funnier, but whatever, it's like, it's almost fitting that there's such a continuity error for Deadpool between the trailers, like it's just the fact that the trailer is basically a whole movie unto itself. And then you see this version of the film, and it just, I don't know, it just seems appropriate for Deadpool that it would be that way. So,
yeah, it definitely gets into like that very fourth wall.
Yeah. So, okay. So we also were talking about how, like, it was interesting that the movie theater, like, because when we first got in, we were like the third or fourth people in the theater, and it did fill up to about 90%. I think that the
Friday night is probably going to get...
standing room only. Yeah, no, I think this movie's going to break $1 billion.
Yeah, and one thing that I was saying to Woody here was, my thought is, as the international market goes, it will definitely get $1 billion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's part of the reason why, like some of the Marvel movies and the Star Wars films have been so successful is that they did, like say with Force Awakens, they just kept releasing it in every market. Like instead of just, like, okay, well we get what we get.
Right.
Okay, we'll put in some overseas theaters. It's cool. No, they were literally like, now we're opening in Venezuela. Now we're opening in Russia. Now we're opening up in whatever, Australia. It's like every they were going to the small markets that don't always get the movies, and it was just, I'm sure, because like
but I think that's going to be
Black Panther's still in theaters after all this time. So, but okay, so now the first movie, right?
Yeah.
It's reported at 58 million, which was the original budget, but it actually was 46 million because they lost about 10 million half the production.
Right.
They end up making the movie look like it was a $100 million movie. This movie is actually reporting a budget of 110. It looks like they had way more money. They literally knew how to stretch their dollars. But there was an interesting point for me, and is that the they really doubled down on the rated R in the first one, and the studio didn't care, right? So we had nudity, we had the F-bomb all over the place, and just, of course, lots of bone breaks and cartoon violence. This movie, I kind of caught it a little bit, but really sunk in after the fact, is that the F-bomb only got dropped a few times, and there was no nudity, really, in the movie at all. There was kind of an implication of nudity in at one point, but like they really didn't, there wasn't any nudity in the movie, but they really they had more cartoon violence than the last one did. And I think that the movie theater is like, this is a formula. We're going to do this formula, and we're going to make that money, and they will make the money. But it does feel like the studio got involved. Like they were not really autonomous like they were last time.
Oh yeah. There was definitely a finger in this pie.
Yeah.
And trying to make it a little sweeter or better marketable pie was definitely part of it.
Somebody thinking they were having some fun with that pie.
Yeah. And that finger might have been something else from American Pie, but that might
exactly.
be
Yeah, no, we were both going there. Well, this is a rated R review, so it's rated for rated R movie. But no, it definitely feels like the studio was involved. Because they can't not be.
Right, but
they have an investment.
But this was definitely one of those films where it wasn't like so jammed down the throat where it's like it was very apparent that this test audience or these individuals said like, well, marketing says that it should be this way because this is what our other failures have done. So that's what exactly is what everybody wants.
Well, I'm sure the conversation was more along the line of, okay, well, we want to make this sequel. This was the most profitable movie in history. Mm-hmm. We want to do it again. We're going to give you a little bit more money, but we need you to do these things. Right. But as long as you do these two things, you can do anything else you want. And boy, did they do anything else they wanted. Oh my God. Like, it was definitely a lot of bathroom humor and fart jokes kind of stuff. But I've heard reviewers say that who have been in the advanced showings, they thought the movie just didn't land and the jokes didn't land. I'm like, do we watch the same movie? I will definitely be buying the DVD.
Right, and that definitely says something because it's like you definitely have quite a heat boner for like the comics because of some of your personal history. Isn't that correct?
Thank you, Max. A friend of ours ruined the character for me, and see that's the thing is, I hate the comic book Deadpool I just hate him, even though I've got a great Marvel pitch, which would be an awesome 4-part miniseries. So call me Marvel, but I love the movie Deadpool because it's not the same character, and the movie character is us, right? He's a character that the audience can identify with, right? But there is nothing you can identify with the comic book character. It's basically like, oh, he's awesome. I like him. He's a loon, but like he's completely bonkers. There's voice in his head. Sometimes people in his head, like just no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And the movie character is not crazy. He's just a weirdo. He is a reflection of the people watching the movie, and he's everything you want to be. Like it's it's not the same character at all, and neither is Domino. Like I think this is a better Domino. Cable's about the same, but well executed.
Minus some pouches.
No,
not as many pouches.
He had some pouches.
He had pouches, but not as many as he did.
I love how they poke fun at the pouches, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, I was really disturbed that his feet were actually proper.
Yeah, they were the
real feet.
That would be, somebody's gonna mess with that and is gonna create a version like him in the movie where he's got extra muscles and he's gigantic and his legs are tiny. So, hey, this is a good point. I think we should give our final review.
Yes.
I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 stars. And you had a different review system.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2 C's.
Of course you are.
So these 2 C's is 1 C is for Canada, because obviously Deadpool, you need to
Canada.
Give it to Canada. And the second C is going to be cleaning up the timeline. And we're going to get into our next video to actually explain that. Oh,
and by the way, I want to just one last thing we do need to mention. It's not a spoiler, but it has been said so far that Deadpool has the greatest end credit scene ever made, which is true. It absolutely does. But they don't have an after credit scene. It's actually a mid credit scene. Once you see the black and white roll, the movie's basically done.
Would still recommend actually watching through the rest of the credits.
The soundtrack is awesome.
The soundtrack definitely made it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike the first one, where it had a great after scene.
Yeah. But it is interesting that people like us, I think about half the people are sticking around for the ending, and there were people that were laughing because they realized he got punked because there wasn't an actual after credit scene. So, anyways, we both love the movie. Go see it. It's definitely worth the money. Take your kids because this is a family film, right?
Yeah, this is definitely for family.
Totally a family film. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.